Hello and welcome to Your Broken Galaxy. I'm Broken, and today I'm going to be talking about fixing the rule of two. Before I do that, though, I do want to mention that I recently put a poll out about whether I should just do audio videos or should I continue to do pictures and stuff. And 77% of respondents said they only listen to my videos, so I've decided I'm only going to be doing audio, so just listen. There's no need to actually watch. But I should be able to do 4 videos a week instead of just 2. So we'll see if I can pull that off. Anyway, the rule of 2. I like the Bane trilogy. I do think it's fun, but I for one think that the rule of 2 is just an absolutely terrible idea. There's just so much that could go wrong. Let's say that when Bane and Zana fought, Bane won the fight at the end of the books. And by the way, I may never mention this before, but I'm going to be talking about spoilers here. At the end of the Bane trilogy, Bane and his apprentice fight one another. In one sense, Bane kind of doesn't care if he wins or loses, because if he loses, it means that Zana has surpassed him, and she deserves to win, which is what happened. But, like, what if Bane won? So he takes on another apprentice and trains them for 7 or 8 years, and then they fight, and maybe Bane wins again. So he searches for another apprentice, and Bane is starting to like get older and maybe a little bit slower, and they fight, but Bane just like barely wins, and so he has to find another apprentice. And now he is some guy that has been only trained for a couple years, who's powerful in the Force, young, strong, and energetic, but he knows very little of the dark side. But Bane, who is weak and old, ends up losing to him. Then this guy is like, I don't really care about prolonging a century-long plot against the Jedi. I'm just going to use my Force power to conquer a small planet on the Outer Rim and live like a king. Or what if Bane wasn't able to find a Force-sensitive person? Or he found people that were Force sensitive, but they were only slightly Force sensitive and didn't have much power. And it's just, these kind of problems could happen with every single Sith Lord. What if in the fight for one of the apprentices to overthrow the Master, they accidentally killed each other? One guy gets stabbed through the stomach and he's going to die, but before he does, he decapitates the guy that stabbed him. Then he just kind of lies there for several hours before painfully passing away. There are a galaxy's worth of things that could have gone wrong. So I don't like the rule of 2, but that is what happens with the dark side, right? By nature, it's self-destructive. So that makes me wonder, what species would be the best candidate for an apprentice for rule of 2 Sith? I'm going to do a little thought experiment here. Let's remember that Plagueis and Sidious both wanted to live forever. So why not choose an apprentice that is a super long-lived species? Like Bane, he was just a human, right? Sidious was a human. Vader was a human. Dooku was a human. And not only was Dooku a human, he was an old human when he became a Sith. But what do we know about other Sith Lords? Well, we only know one more in the movies, and that's Maul. Some people may argue that Snoke is a Sith, but I don't care, because what they did with his character, just the plot of the prequel trilogy in general, is an abomination of storytelling. So how long did Dathomiri live? How long did the Zabrak live, Darth Maul? We can also ask about Darth Plagueis. The movies don't explicitly mention him as being Moon, but his name is at least mentioned from the EU, and that he's a Moon there. So from EU, we get a ton of other Sith species, but the humans would have really only lived 80 to 100 years. And the Zabrak would have only lived 80 to 100 years, right? They're not living super long. So what is the longest lived species in Star Wars then? All right, well, Wookiees, which are notoriously strong, have been Force sensitive, and they can live like 400 years. Hutts can live for over 1,000 years, and they've had Force sensitive. There's like legitimately Jedi Hutts, and I'm going to talk about them one day. And then there's Yoda species, which is obviously Force sensitive. Yoda was 900 when he died, right? There are 2 other species, though, that are not that well known. The Neti and the Gendai. Neti, to date, are exclusively an EU species. These things were tree people that lived long and could shapeshift. But the species that I think would best work as a rule of 2 Sith would be the Gendai, right? So let me tell you about the Gendai. First off, they meet my qualification for long-lived. Gendai lived somewhere between 4 to 7 1,000 years. So like if Bane found a young Gendai and started training it, then by the time the Clone Wars would have happened, he would have essentially been a young adult, right? This is 1,000 years later, and he would have been able to just like take it in stride. A lot of folks may not realize what the Gendai are, right? So in Clone Wars, not the Clone Wars, but Star Wars Clone Wars, which was an animated series that came out between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, there was a bounty hunter named Dirge that fought Obi-Wan, and this guy was in heavy armor and armed to the teeth. If you haven't seen it, that is a Gendai. That is what one is. Please watch Clone Wars. It's great. Anyway, I thought it was a really good candidate if they could use the Force. Gendai could heal from virtually anything. You'll see that if you watch Clone Wars. Being blown up, having limbs cut off, it's ridiculous. They also had really good senses, being able to feel human heartbeats from dozens of meters away. I didn't say hear heartbeats. They feel them. These things, when they appeared in humanoid form, were over 2 meters tall, which is like 6'6" for you Americans out there, and they weighed 140 kilos, or over 300 pounds. Also, for some reason, this pile of shape-shifting nerves had razor-sharp fangs. Really, the only way you could kill these things was by taking out their brain, because they didn't even have other organs. And these guys, who were originally peaceful, weren't found by the Republic or Jedi. The Sith were the ones that found them. Instead of turning them into a mass army of super soldiers, they fought them, which was one of the many blunders of the Sith. Also, these things had a history of philosophy. If a Sith could find one at a young age, then they could easily be twisted to dark side philosophical tendencies. Even if a Sith found one at an age of, let's say, 5,000, they'd still have 2,000 years of life left in them. As they aged, their brains did kind of deteriorate, which is why several of these things became vicious killers. So if the Sith properly used them, then the old ones could have served as a crazy strong military force even. So if I were Bane, and remember, Bane was like crazy interested in reading the old Sith documents and stuff, I would have read about these things and thought to myself, this is the kind of apprentice I want. I want to find one that is a few hundred years old and teach him the mysteries of the Force over the rest of my life. Then the Gendai could kill me, find himself with literally thousands of years left to live and grow in his Force ability, his capability to establish resources and spy networks. If I were a Gendai Sith Lord, I'd wait like 100 years and build up my own Force abilities before I start taking on apprentices. And when I did I'd probably get someone like a human or a Zabrak, train them with the realization that in their short-lived lives, they are never going to be as strong as me, but they can be someone I can work with, send out on missions and stuff. Then after about 500 years, when I'm like super advanced in the Force and I've had, a dozen different apprentices, each for about 50 years apiece, I'll grab another young Gendai who is just simply not going to catch up to my ability for like centuries or even maybe a couple thousand years. The two of us would be able to see ourselves become rulers of the galaxy fairly easy, I think. Anyway, that's why I think Bane is an idiot. That's my video today, guys, or my, audio for today. Anyway, thanks for listening. It's been a joy to write all these scripts, and now that I'm not going to be doing visuals for at least time, probably until I finish college, which is, I'm hoping to graduate in December of 2025, so that's like much longer than I've even had this channel going. I'm probably not going to be having video stuff, so we'll see about doing more and more audio stuff. I also have a separate YouTube channel that I've got a lot of work done. I only have 2 videos posted, but it's a more serious take. It's about, right now, all it's about is a group of clones that are sent off into the unknown region on a special mission, and I'm going to be doing more work on that one as well. So if you guys enjoy these YouTube videos, then I would be grateful for you to share them. This one is not as funny as most of them, but anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and all that garbage.